Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Should we reveal our vulnerability when public speaking? Many people I work with talk about their fear of public speaking, their fear that they're not the expert in the area of which they've been asked to talk, that fear that they're an imposter, that fear that their journey, their mistakes in life will lessen their ability to have impact through their presentation. Good morning, Peter Dew's my name, public speaking trainer and coach. And today I want to touch on this thing we call our vulnerability. And it's one of the things that people ask me, should I reveal my vulnerability when public speaking, or should I just stick to the facts, to the case study, to the data, and not reveal my own insecurities, my own self-doubt? And today we will cover that. Should we reveal our vulnerability when public speaking? Please, you know how to participate as you join. Ask questions as we go. Don't be afraid to write in any comments, take notes, participate. And in your own speaking journey, in your own workshops, in your own presentation, do you shy away? Do you avoid vulnerability? Or do you avoid talking about the tough stuff that may reveal some of your own personal vulnerability? I'm recording this webinar, as always. Those of you who couldn't make it, or those of you who have to leave early, the recording is always available. Just let us know and we'll send you the link to YouTube. Does our vulnerability with an audience make us appear weak? Make us appear afraid? Or maybe we're not up to the job. You know, look, I struggled with this part of my life and therefore maybe I'm not up for the job. Maybe I don't have the credibility I thought. So does our vulnerability with an audience make us appear weak, afraid, or not up for the job? The short answer is no. So should we share our vulnerability? And is our vulnerability, is it an asset? Or is it a threat, or is it a weakness, or is it a risk? Should we share your vulnerability? I think the answer simply is yes. You should share your vulnerability when public speaking. A couple of quotes here. Sigmund Freud, out of your vulnerabilities will come strength. So you're overcoming your own fear, you overcoming your own adversity, you coming from through the ranks, from working on the floor to CEO, and the struggles and the mistakes you made demonstrate strength. And Brené Brown writes and researches around courage and vulnerability, and Brené Brown would be one of the key sources I would go to if you're having a little bit of self-doubt and you're lacking courage around your vulnerability. So Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, said armoring up, that's when we hide our vulnerability, you know, putting on that facade, it's all good. Armoring up or covering our vulnerability denies us the opportunity to face uncertainty, to face risk and emotional exposure, and utilize our courage and our compassion and our connection with others. So it prevents us from that emotional exposure. It prevents us from utilizing our courage and our own compassion, and prevents us from connecting at a deeper level with others. So yes, you should reveal your vulnerability when public speaking. How does vulnerability help as a presenter, as an expert, as a facilitator? It helps you connect with the audience. You become real. You're not the guru. You're not perfect. It gives you credibility. You've walked the talk. You've done the journey. You've overcome your adversity. It demonstrates your success. You're now there as someone in leadership, someone with expertise, someone that's sought after, in my case, sought after to teach people, leaders, effective public speaking. So people can be confident, effective, and of course, influential when public speaking. And my vulnerability demonstrates my success in that area. It gives people hope. If he can do it, if Peter Dew can do it, then what have I got to worry about? I can do it as well. If he's come from a position where he wasn't able to do public speaking to now being a professional speaker and coach, then I can do it. It kind of gives you that track record of success, but also gives people a shining light, a beacon of hope, light at the end of their tunnel. Because public speaking is about helping your audience, your clients. Also, it reveals a level of honesty, which will build trust and your connection. If I don't reveal my vulnerability, if I don't reveal my own struggles, and I just move on as if I've always been a great public speaker, radio voice, and, I've done drama and I've never had a worry in my life, then I'm hiding a part of my life. I'm hiding a part of my life. So vulnerability helps you through connecting with your audience, helps build credibility. It helps demonstrate success. It gives people light at the end of the tunnel, gives them hope. And it's a bit of honesty in your own right. My own vulnerability, most of you will know that I am a person who stutters. And as a young man, from age 15 through to age 25, there's that 10-year period where I was an elective mute. My means of communicating during that time was with a pen and a notepad. So I avoided, I hid, and I struggled. My early career, I was overlooked for promotion. I was never given a senior role or a manager's role. So my vulnerability is, as a public speaking trainer and coach, I could not always do this. In fact, 20 years ago, if you've said, Peter, can you stand in front of a video? We're going to get you to do a live webinar and we're going to record you. Later viewing, I would have said, no way, I cannot do that. This is 20 years ago. I've been public speaking for 15 years. Prior to that, I would have been very reluctant and found this difficult. So here's some tools around sharing your vulnerability. Don't be afraid to use what I call the elephant in the room. Why would we try to hide something that's really big, that people probably already know? If they've Googled or looked at your history, they can probably see that you were bankrupt at some stage. Andrew Forrest, one of the richest Australians, was bankrupt. They may have known you were in prison or incarcerated or have a criminal record. They can find out. And we try to put it behind our back. We try and hide the elephant, try and stay behind, don't come out. But the elephant is big. It smells and it's noisy. How can you hide the elephant? Why try? And depending on what the elephant is, you can disclose it. What your vulnerability is, you can disclose it up front. And I generally say, look, thanks for inviting me today. A little bit about myself. I am a person who stutters. And then as the workshop goes on, if I stutter, nobody minds. Nobody cares. Because it's not a shock, it's not a surprise, and I've revealed that vulnerability up front. I have a person who I coach whose face goes bright red. And they're quite confident, very effective. And one of the things they say now is, so Peter, what can I do to stop my face going red? And my response is, don't try. Don't bother. Just let people know. So this person's presentation goes a little bit like this, and they work in the area of superannuation. So thanks for inviting me here today. I'm going to share with you 3 tips to maximise your superannuation contribution. Before I go on, you'll notice my face is going bright red. Please do not worry about it. I'm not having a heart attack. I'm not having a stroke. I'm a little bit nervous, so don't worry about my face going red. Now, I want to share with you 3 strategies to help greatly boost your superannuation contributions. As soon as that's announced, no one worries about the face going red, your vulnerability. No one worries if you're a little bit nervous, because everyone in the room wants to know, what are those 3 secrets around growing their superannuation balance or their superannuation contributions? Don't be afraid to share the elephant in the room as part of your vulnerability. The second tool that I like to use around sharing vulnerability is, don't be afraid to expand your comfort zone. The jump in the deep end, the sink or swim, I don't think is necessarily the great way to do it. So you can expand your comfort zone by taking a little risk. Give people a bit of information around your vulnerability and see what the feedback is. Then go a little bit further. And finally, when you know that you're fully comfortable, you can expand and declare your full vulnerability, your full journey, your full mistakes. My journey as a person who stutters, and people sometimes ask, what is the tipping point? And I don't always share this, but the tipping point was when I did my first ever presentation, delivering my father's eulogy. So at age 41, my dad died at age 87, and I've decided to stand up and do my father's eulogy. I'm the oldest of 3 boys, and this was way out of my comfort zone. And what happened was people came up to me who knew me and knew my father, and they said, Peter, if you can do this, you can do anything you want to. So expand your comfort zone, say yes, and gradually get out of your comfort zone, and your vulnerability will be shared and people will respect that. You'll connect people, you'll build your credibility, and the trust will go up. A couple of quotes, one from Virginia Rometty, CEO, first female CEO of IBM. I learned to always take on things I'd never done before. So growth and comfort do not coexist. Being vulnerable delivers a level of uncomfortableness. Sharing your vulnerability, maybe your self-doubt, maybe your imposter syndrome, maybe that you struggled early on in your career, revealing that vulnerability is uncomfortable, but that's when we grow. That's when we expand. That's when we learn new material. We can avoid discomfort. We can avoid being vulnerable by just doing what we've always done, and therefore we stay in that same circle of comfort. When you get out of your comfort zone and that circle expands, this is where vulnerability, this is where discomfort occurs, but this is where learning and growth and your unlocked potential occurs. Hiding our vulnerability, therefore, keeps us safe, and we tend to stay within our comfort zone and within our existing limits. Vulnerability gets us out of our comfort zone and often leads to new growth, new experiences, new opportunity, a new world that we would otherwise not have, that we would otherwise not experience. And in sharing that with our audiences as a public speaker, as a trainer, we're helping our audiences grow and expand. The final tool I want to share with you is old, but I love it. And it's called the Johari window. And it goes a little bit like this. There's 4 grids, and it comes from John and Harry. I don't know their surnames, 2 psychologists, John and Harry, so Johari Window. So what they've discovered is there's an area that I know about myself, and there's an area that you know about me. Example, there's not much hair on my head. My beard's gone really grey, and you now know that I stutter because I told you. So that's known to me, known to you. There's stuff that I know about myself that you don't know about me. These are my secrets. These are my personal life. These are my financial affairs. There's stuff that I know, but you don't know about me. And then there's stuff that you know about me, but I don't know about myself. He seems like an arrogant person. One person told me I used to pick my nose a lot. Now the knuckles down, I'm not really picking my nose. These are things you don't know about yourself until people tell you. So this one here, I know that I've got no hair. You know that I've got no hair. I've told you that I stutter. You know that I stutter. This stuff is my private stuff. I know what it is. You don't know it. This stuff I don't know about myself. And some people use lots of filler words, you know, actually. Yeah, look, like, and they're unaware of it. So it's unknown to them, but the audience can see it. And there's this bit here, which is unknown to anyone. You don't know it, I don't know it. It's probably yet to surface. It's our unlocked potential. We haven't tapped into it. It's that pot of gold that hasn't been nurtured, that hasn't grown yet. As we give these a name, this is my open public self. My open public self. This is my hidden self. I choose not to share with you. These are my blind spots. Yep, I was picking my nose. I use a lot of filler words. And this is my untapped potential. This is the hidden gold. This is the thing that people don't know about themselves. I sometimes watch Australian Idol or Australia's Got Talent or The X Factor. And there's these people who kind of, I guess they know that they sing a little bit. You know, they sing in the shower. And, you know, their parents say to their parents, you know, I'd like to be a rock star. Yeah, look, why don't you get a real job, go to uni and all that. And then they go on to this talent show and this voice comes out and the whole audience and the judges are in awe and say, you're absolutely amazing. You're going to be a rock star. So it might have been a little bit of dream, but they didn't really know until the circumstances, the requirement of being properly mic'd up, an audience, being coached, and this wonderful voice comes out. So how do you unlock some of your talent? How do you unlock some of your hidden potential that we don't know that you've got it yet? I don't know you've got it, and you don't know that you have it as yet. All right, how do we unlock some of that? And with public speaking, and I have a group of people, especially from the same organisation. So I might have 12 people from a mining company, 12 people from a private hospital. And there's one person there that absolutely nails their public speaking. And I say to everyone in the room, how often we'll call this person Bill, how often does Bill speak? How many opportunities does Bill get to speak? How many meetings do they lead? And the answer is, well, no, they don't do public speaking. Bill, why don't you do public speaking? Well, I hate it. I'm a nervous wreck. I avoid it. and there's this person with a beautiful voice, natural talent that they're unaware of, and their team and their organisation is unaware of. That's untapped potential. So this is what I like to do. 2 ways. The first one is ask for feedback. And the feedback that I got about picking my nose, the feedback I give someone about your ums and ahs, your fillers, your likes, like you should have been there, like it was really good, like, or other extraneous words, and you start to eliminate them, you become more confident and more effective. The feedback that the person that was in my workshop is a brilliant, confident speaker in the eyes of everyone in the room. They were still nervous, by the way. Let them know that despite their nerves, despite their self-doubt, they are a good public speaker and they've got this public speaking gig down pat. The next way to unlock some potential is to disclose your vulnerability, disclose something that people don't know. So your blind spots get reduced when you ask for feedback. What am I doing well? What could I do differently? What could I change? How can I improve? And we have performance discussions. And the idea is we unlock a bit more potential. We move closer to leadership, closer to what we want in our careers as we get feedback from bosses, from managers. As we do training and workshops, we get feedback and learn and grow. The other one is to disclose. And some of that disclosure is your vulnerability. Disclose that you are struggling with this. Disclose that you don't know how to use Excel spreadsheet macros and pivot tables, and you're really struggling managing all the data. Brilliant at writing reports, but really struggling with this Excel. I told you all today about my stutter. I disclosed that I didn't speak for 10 years of my life. I was an elective mute. I disclosed my first real public speaking was my father's eulogy. I haven't disclosed yet that my father also stuttered. So for myself, it was really hard living as a young man who stuttered with a father who also stuttered. This is further disclosure. Is this making me weaker? Sharing my vulnerability? Or is this giving you further depth and understanding of me and my role? I love the Johari window. If you want to unlock potential, seek feedback. It takes courage to ask people to give you feedback, because when you ask for feedback, you are opening yourself up. You are being vulnerable. Every workshop I do, I send out a feedback survey, or we do a feedback survey at the end of the day, and I get feedback, and it's scary because this is how I make my money. And if I get negative feedback, the chances are that organisation won't book me again. They won't use me the next time. And that's the end of that particular line of my business. And as I disclose, I tell you more about myself, my journey. That also requires vulnerability. So I think one of the keys to unlocking your potential as a public speaker, as a trainer or presenter, or unlocking potential in anything in life, is to use vulnerability. So vulnerability is not a dirty word. Vulnerability is not a weakness. Vulnerability takes courage, and I'd encourage you to share your vulnerability as you share your messages, your knowledge, your passion, your information. A word of caution. When not to share your vulnerability. I think at job interviews, if someone says, how would you resolve conflict between two people? And you said to them, look, I might try a little bit of this. I might try a little bit of that. Look, I'm not really sure. I'm sure one of them would work. I might get an external mediator in. I might go on a train. I'm sure one of them will work. Perhaps don't reveal vulnerability in job interviews. I have been a witness of a motor vehicle accident and appeared as a witness for the prosecution. And the defence lawyer, their role was to challenge me and to make me look less than confident. So revealing vulnerability or uncertainty as a witness will probably see shreds torn off you and your credibility disappear. And do not do therapy on stage or in front of an audience. What I mean as a speaker or when you're speaking, especially those of you who work in tough topics around mental well-being, around self-harm, around drug and alcohol addiction. It's okay to reveal your own vulnerability, but for someone to really become too vulnerable and feel like the whole workshop is a therapy session for the person who's presenting, I would not do that. We have a saying in public speaking, don't do therapy on stage. So while I have a stutter and while I still have nerves around public speaking and I talk about my vulnerability, I do not focus on it and I do not use people to give me feedback on how my stuttering is going. How's my therapy going? I do not use the platform, the workshop for therapy. In my view, vulnerability is a tool that we can use effectively in our speaking and our presentations. We can use it to enhance our connection, our credibility, and therefore be more effective as public speakers. So in summary, should you share your vulnerability? Yes. How does vulnerability help? Helps connect, helps build trust, helps build credibility, shows that you've been through the struggle, helps people see the light at the end of the tunnel, helps them see the way forward. Don't forget the elephant in the room. We try and hide it. Expand your comfort zone, take some risks. I love the Johari window. Ask for feedback, reveal some vulnerability, and that unlocks potential. And don't do therapy on stage, and be confident during job interviews and if you ever find yourself being a witness. Next webinar, tips to help you prepare for off-the-cuff speaking, unexpected public speaking, thrown in the deep end. How do you prepare? My next two workshops are in Melbourne. Port Hedland was a couple of weeks ago, successfully ran. I've still got a couple of spots in my Melbourne workshops, 28th and 29th of March. You know how to reach me for any feedback, any comments, should you want to review the recording. Should you share your vulnerability? That's an absolute yes. How does vulnerability help? Helps you build trust, connect. Don't do therapy on stage. Peter Dews, my name, public speaking trainer and coach. And I wish you well in your public speaking journey, and do embrace vulnerability. Vulnerability is not a dirty word.